Last week, I got to fly out to Orlando, Florida to play College Football 26 early at EA's studio where they develop the game. Here, I got to talk to a bunch of developers, listen to them make presentations, and even got a couple of hours where I got to just play the game and have a little bit of fun doing so, seeing what was different and what was new. Keep in mind, very, very transparent here. EA has a lot of stuff that we are just not allowed to talk about at this point. So if I'm being vague about something, or if I just straight up say I can't talk about it, that is strictly from EA. So keep that in mind. I have to work within the confines of what they're okay with. So I made this tweet the other day. Earlier today, I got to play College Football 26. Ask me any questions you have, and I'll do my best to answer them. Keep in mind, it's super strict what I can talk about. Now, through this, I got a lot, 529 replies. I replied to a lot of them, and we're just going to work through this. I also have a couple of tweets from my good friend Bordeaux, and we'll talk about some of what he said as well here. Now, we're going to start from the top and just work our way through it, and I'm going to articulate some of the things that we got to see and I can actually talk about. Now, Sports Guy Show asks, have the coaches in the game got face scanned? Also, I'm assuming actual assistant coaches are in the game, so technically you could build a real coaching staff. So, also are non-FBS in the game, such as Western Carolina, or such as Western Carolina in the game, for example. Final one, I have literally no clue on. First two, or first one, have the coaches got face scanned in the game? I don't know if literally like face scan. I don't know how they got the coaches in the game, but like they have real life player or real life coaches in the game. We saw that in the trailer. They look. I thought they looked pretty good. I don't know if they really got face scan or not, but they look good. So whatever that means. And the assistant coaches as well. That's been confirmed. I think that got confirmed through some leaks of like other schools saying like so and so is in the game. So there's that. Next one. Tell us something you aren't allowed to talk about. I'm 6'4". You can believe that or you cannot believe that. Totally up to you. Did you win a natty with? Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of things that are just not actual things. Is this the first play from the Rose Bowl in the game? No, but I saw someone play as Michigan versus Ohio State. Ohio State was about to win, and the game auto quit. Saw a pop up saying that it was too unrealistic. Ohio State could never beat Michigan. All right, let's go to a lot of Dynasty stuff is just a little bit out of my wheelhouse. If you don't know me very well, I'm purely gameplay. That's really what I care a ton about. And so more customization options for coaches. Last year we had two clothing options. I didn't play Dynasty. It's totally out of my wheelhouse. I don't know. Trophy room is back. This got confirmed inside of the blog that they released late last week. I think it was on Thursday. Trophy room is going to be the game. I'm very excited about this. Everything we saw about the trophy room I thought was cool, and it reminded me of like older games I would play when I was very young. So I thought that was cool. Read option mechanics controls, as far as I know, are going to be very similar to last year. And let's see, what's another one? How many formations have four verts? Many. Any new formations or plays that could be the new meta outside of the bunch trips. So this is what I can say about that. They were very open in the blog and in the trailer about there being 2,700 new plays in the game. What I can say from what I was able to play, mind you, not a ton, there was a lot of very good usable plays, but there was a good combination of plays that were like genuinely unique and brand new. There were a good combination of plays that actually seemed like they could be very, very useful and very, very good. There was a lot of good like gadget plays. They talked about in the blog that there was the a couple new schemes like the Rice modern option and then also Purdue's gadget offense. I can confirm that within those, there's new formations and new plays. With that being said, will you see new plays and new formations that are very similar to stuff you've already seen? Yes. Big part of that is that football concepts transfer through a lot of formations and will look very similar, right? One of the ways that EA does add new formations is let's say there's a formation called Gun Trips Tight End. They might add in a formation called Gun Trips Tight End Offset. Very similar. Now, those are obviously both in the game already, but just give you an example of what could qualify as a new formation. Again, I can vouch very hard on the fact that when Matt, well, just seeing this, like seeing what I saw the other day, a lot of cool new things in the game. 2,700 new is, you're going to see a lot of new stuff. Madden also had a huge playbook revamp last year in Madden 25, and then they even did like a mid-year playbook revamp. Both of those added a ton of new plays into the game, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that really shaped what was popular in the game. Last year in Madden was the most like different meta I've ever seen in terms of what's popular, and I would expect a very similar thing this year just from that, right? So keep that in mind. Bulldog Born Valley Bread asks anything to combat 1 to 2 play cheeses online. How noticeable is the gameplay changes? There's a lot of new tools on defense. There's some stuff that I can't talk about that I'm super excited about. One big thing that they mentioned is the idea of custom zones. I think this is really, really cool. They added new tools on defense. I think I made a tweet the other day saying the idea that I was hoping they'd do this, where offense in College Football 25 was really, really good. It was a very offensive heavy game. And so it's like, okay, how do we attack and make the defense better without just like making offense worse, right? Because like you can make defense better if you were to make offense worse, technically, right? Defense would just seem better. I'm a big fan because they added a lot of tools on defense, like we talked about with the custom stem, or not custom stem, um, the custom zones on defense. I thought that was a cool feature. I gotta mess around with this some, and I was like, oh, this is something that actually will make defense a little bit better. There's some other stuff in there too where I'm a massive fan of, where I'm like, yes, this is going to help. So, in response to Brad specifically, anything to combat 1 to 2 play cheeses online, yes, we have more tools at our disposal. What's my favorite mouthpiece? NDA. Sorry, Master Gamer. Um, and yeah, any new formation specifically that I can talk about, I can't. With that being said, like I've already said in this one, there's a lot of very cool and usable stuff. Okay. Dynamic lighting or lighting changes. There's a sun move in the sky. Not the expert talked about this in a tweet. That's not really something that I like necessarily like looked for or paid attention to. But he said yes to that in another tweet. So not the expert. If you guys don't know him, he makes really good Dynasty, and like he plays a lot of like alternative games too, I would call it. But he makes cool Dynasty stuff. Long story short. Just from playing, I felt like the gameplay felt really, really good. I think if you enjoyed last year's gameplay and you liked how that felt, I would assume that you would enjoy this year's gameplay as well. Um, Someone asked on a scale of 1 to 10, how much better is this than Couch World 25? Being very transparent, I played it for a couple of hours, right? So it's there's only just so much, right? And the couple of hours was me like sitting with Eric Rayweather, and we're just like, just talking and whatnot. So keep that in mind when I speak on this and everything here. Um, I do think just from the addition of custom zones into the game, if everything stays the same and they added in something like custom zones, I think that game becomes better. I think Couch World 25 would be a better game if it had custom zones. This guy also had a clarifying thing of like 5 being the same. So I said 7 in that case because I think boom. And then I can also say without a doubt that presentation took a lot of steps forward. I've already said in this video that I'm a major gameplay based guy. And I was looking at some presentation stuff they were talking about. I was like, oh, that's cool. And you can see some of that stuff in the trailer, right? I'm like, oh, that is dope. Someone asked a very specific question of like, how is the run game this year? Is it better or worse? Just didn't get enough time in the game. What I'll say is just messing around with it. Definitely seemed like the run game is viable. Last year was very good. This year, at the very minimum, viable. A big thing that comes from the run game though is like how do abilities play into it, right? Because like the run game was massively different this year from comparing and contrasting day one Judkins with what was it? Spin cycle. It wasn't spin cycle. I'm tripping on the actual name of it, but 360, right? He had like platinum 360 and platinum shifty. Then when that got removed, so that a lot of that's just ability based. Um, yeah, and your TJ asks, is it a lot of bubblegum or actual formation sets if it ran at a high level? And I just think it's very similar to the Madden update last year. There's gonna be stuff where you're like, dude, this isn't like it's whatever. There's a lot of stuff that I was a big fan of. Um, did they add Buster Bronco? I can't really talk a ton more about custom zones. What I can say, and this kind of Kenny here. My name's Kenny, so Kenny, I love your name. Kenny Murphy's a tough name. Is wear and tear still kind of buggy with how players' bodies react, et cetera, et cetera? What I'll say is that this was a focus point on them from their part. And another big thing that I talked about, and in my tweets, and Bordeaux talked about, I think Drew, not the expert, talked about, and a lot of people did, is that they made a big focus point, and I can even say this just knowing them last year as well, to try their best to listen. We have to see how things play out, but they tried their best to listen with a lot of things, and there was a lot of feedback on wear and tear this year. They tried to listen, and how that ends up looking day one in the game, I don't know, but I'm fairly confident that I mean they listened. Like I can say that with full confidence. How do the walkouts feel for teams? Again, can't super deep dive it. I'll say presentation much improved. This is coming from a guy who does not care a ton about presentation. I'm a gameplay guy. Yeah, wear and tear better or not? Excuse me. Jeez. Oh, excuse me. Whatever. Someone asked, can a receiver catch the ball after a tip pass this season? I'm, I don't. I'm not sure what he's referring to. Be honest, respectfully, Steven. That area I'm gonna say same as last year. So I'm not sure if he thinks that they did too much or whatever. Ronnie asked, how difficult is it to set up custom zones and defensive line stunts and twists? I didn't find it difficult at all. Did match coverage get updated? No clue. this is also something when you like to keep in mind, very much with like certain specific gameplay stuff, like how different coverages work and things like that, especially like match coverage and things like even blitzes and whatnot. This changes a lot from patch to patch, update to update in the middle of the season, right? If you've played it all, like you have an idea that the patches can change the game a ton. And so with that being said, it's important to keep in mind with that changes so much from the beta versions of the game to the actual launch date versions of the game. And the reason I say that is even if I had a great answer on how a good a blitz is, how good a match coverage is, or how bad it is, whatever, it's just probably going to change from to the actual release date. It's just how it is, right? That a lot of things get changed, both on purpose and just as a result of like other changes in the game. So there's something to keep in mind with a lot of that stuff. Um, Someone asked if did I catch any new animations running in collision wise. Inside the trailer, you can see some new animations, so some like reach for it. Someone asked if they still have the triple option. Yeah. EA, if you don't want me to be, I don't know if I'm allowed to say they have or don't have the triple option. So EA, feel free to strike me down for that. But I was rocking some Navy triple option. I was having some fun with it. And the biggest surprise I noticed is, and again, this is what other people said too. This is not what EA told us to say. Um, Rather, it's just like obvious. Talking to them is that they tried to listen. Now, how that actually plays out, who knows? But they made a very big focal point to be to like showcase that they listened to feedback from either people like me directly, my comment sections, other creators' comment sections, Twitter replies, Reddit, different like feedback. They have a bunch of different feedback channels that they take pretty seriously, and it was kind of obvious to see that. Someone has any magazine covers or anything, something equivalent to that. I haven't done any modeling. Um, Someone asked if they fixed pitches and laterals not flying back 15 yards. They fixed that in a patch 3 4 months ago now in Couch 125. If that's still happening to you, one, make sure your game is updated. I don't know if somehow it could just not be updated, but make sure you have an updated game. And two, that really only happens now if you just lateral it way too late, like when you're in the middle of getting hit. Um, yeah, Crossplay Dynasty's in the game. That's awesome. Someone asked if there's any broken records. I have no idea. I didn't break any records. Is the crowd stadium pulse good? The crowd gets after it. That was mentioned in the blog. I'll say they made some changes I was a massive fan of in that. So I think that'll be cool. I think that'll be very, very cool. What else do we have here? Anything else that yada yada yada? Can you make a edge? Do you playbooks feel overhauled and new? I think playbooks feel very, very cool. With that being said, that's pretty much everything here. Now I want to bump over to what Bordeaux said here. The biggest change for me isn't one specific thing. It's the 50 smaller things combined that puts 26 far ahead of 25. I can't say much besides what's already been released, but there's been many quality of life changes that give the game a polished feel that we didn't have in 25. And I would advocate on this. And I would also advocate on top of that with what Bordeaux says here, where someone asks, should I spend $70 on it or wait for 27? And you should wait until you hear the information that you want to hear, right? They're going to release more information. The game's going to be $70 today. It's going to be $70 if you wait a moment, right? Like, I would wait. I would wait unless you've heard what you want to hear already, right? That decision's purely yours. Just want to throw that out there. But I very much like will second what Brother Bordeaux says here, where it is like there's a lot of small quality of life things that I'm like, yo, let's go. That's awesome. It's a big deal. I also have this one bookmarked. Do I have oh, it's just a bunch of random tweets. Yeah, so my like I don't know. I think Ryan Daly looks solid. There's some other trailer clips of that. Here's a new animation I was talking about, where like this is a very obvious like reach for animation. That's a part of the trailer. It's right here. And I'm just kind of using Bordeaux right now, but yeah. This oh, and there's RBT. After it's gonna be hard to go back to Couch 125 and to see what's coming. Can't wait to reveal more over the next month. And yeah, there's gonna be more information dropping the next month. And as more information comes out, I'll be able to talk more about that specific information and how that information felt while I was actually playing the game the other day. And with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's totally free, and we're gonna be doing a lot more College Football 26 stuff here coming up in the next upcoming days, weeks, and the months moving forward. If you want to get better at the game, this channel's probably the place for you. We do a lot of gameplay help content. So with that being said, I'll see you guys all in the next video.